To introduce today's guest speaker, Bob Anstett. Let's give him a big hand.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so as I've been here before, everybody pretty much knows me, Bob from the future. I am here to make sure that you know about the new cutting edge technologies and things like this. If you were here last year, we did this a very similar presentation of this last year. So if the first few slides here are all seem the same, they are. It's all about the information that we're going to talk about. Make sure you stop me and raise hands. Don't let me steamroll right through. There's a lot of new stuff that's come out, especially over the last couple of months, and 2 new reports that just came out yesterday. So they're not even on the slides. I'll pull it up on my phone and be able to read it off to you. But we're going to make sure that you guys understand exactly what's going on with this, that you know safety, privacy, all the stuff talking about voice assistants, and why they've become so important to everybody and how many people are using them all around the world now. Number one, who's the number one voice assistant out there right now?
Siri.
Alexa.
Alexa. Say hello, Alexa.
Alexa.
Alexa, say hello.
Come on.
She's lit.
There she goes. Now she's awake. Okay, good. So, Amazon is the number one voice assistant right now by far. After we get through this list, I'll pull out and read you the latest quarterly results to make sure you understand that. This is not an advertisement for Amazon. This class is not meant to be that way. It's just that they have such a huge lead on everybody else and how much they're doing with all this stuff. Who do you think is number 2 on this list though? We've got 5
Siri.
here in North America that are really that are in the top 5. So
Siri.
who do we think is number 2?
Siri.
Google.
No.
No.
Google.
No to Google. No to Siri.
Apple.
No.
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 Oh, talk to me.
No, it doesn't even register on the charts. They have cool commercials, but that's it.
Facebook.
Cortana.
Okay.
Because if you've used Windows 10 and you've done anything with help,
Oh yeah.
that is Cortana. Whether you've spoken it out loud, whether you have typed it in, you've been using Cortana as a help function for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And that you can actually set your laptop, tablet up so that it will automatically listen and act just like any voice assistant for you using Cortana to be able to answer all your questions.
Cool.
Amazon understands how Microsoft works. Microsoft understands how Amazon works. And so they've actually paired up and they will work together. You can actually have and say, Cortana, have a word on my calendar and she will do it for you. Or you can say, Echo, put this on my calendar for that. And this is all called wake words. These are how you invoke and bring these to life to make this happen. So sometimes we kind of have to fudge. Officially, it's Amazon Voice Services or Voice Assistants, which is why the name of the class is that, and not smart speakers, because there's a lot more than speakers involved here. Then we come to Siri. So Siri is number 3 out there, and one of the reasons Siri is number 3 is because if you have an iPad, an iPhone, an iMac, any of those devices, Siri comes automatically installed and automatically activated. You don't get a choice. Yes, Apple says they're all about privacy, but they're not giving you the option to not use these things. The microphone is already there. I'll talk about that in 1 more minute. So who's our number 4?
Google.
There we go, Google. See, you guys already know the answers.
Yeah.
So, Google Assistant is the current number 4, and again, that's because it becomes installed and used on almost all Android tablets, Android phones. It's there and available for you to use. So out of these top 4, they're all doing much different than they were when this slide was put together at the beginning of the year. What do you think number 5 is? And it'll give you a hint on that one of how badly this has changed. Anybody got a guess? Who's number 5? If you can remember from last year, there's still a number 5. Haven't changed in the order on the list. They're still number 5.
I wasn't here last
And see, this is why they're number 5. Nobody even knows them.
Okay. So help us.
Any ideas? Nobody
No.
guesses? Bixby. Now, if you've never heard of Bixby, that's because you live in North America. If I were to say this is a worldwide list, Bixby would be number one on the list
Wow.
because Bixby is installed on every Samsung phone. It is the default on every Samsung phone. So they own all of South Korea, most of Japan, and about a quarter of China. And if you can own a quarter of China, you own the world. Since there's 25% of the population of China is the entire population of the United States. Now, we said that this was the group at the beginning of the year. This has radically changed. Google Assistant moved up to number 2,
Alright.
and then maybe have slipped down. We're not quite sure yet how far down. Siri was number 3, is now number 4. Cortana was number 2, is closer to number 4 or 5, depending upon how you count it. Because what happened in the summer was Microsoft disassembled Cortana as an automatic function of help, and now you can use it with or without. So if you count just installs on Windows 10 machines, they're still number 2. If you count only the people who are actually using the devices and using that as a voice assistant, they plummet all the way off the list. They're not even listed in the top 5 anymore. But there are some issues with how much are you actually selling versus how much you're actually being used. Amazon is being used really well by everybody. Because they are just out there on all sorts of devices, plus on phones, plus on everything like that. I've got my headset that I use for my headphones and that at work that's got built-in Amazon voice services, so I could just press a button and have her do all the stuff that I want to do as I'm walking around. And there's a million different devices that we're going to get to in a minute. But if you're looking at actual device numbers, Amazon in the third quarter of this year, the results just came out yesterday. I think I remember this one off the top of my head without looking at the phone. They are up 60% over last year in sales.
Wow. Look at my surprise.
In
show.
1 year, 60% more over that. Bixby is 900%, I think, up. For Samsung and Huawei and some of the other companies that make the Bixby stuff. Google is down over 40% from last year. They not only couldn't even keep up, they've lost ground tremendously on this. And then somebody mentioned Facebook earlier with Facebook Portal. Everyone's seen those really cool commercials for Facebook Portal. No,
No.
not even registered. They're part of the other in the bottom 3% of sales for the rest of the world in the United States. Apple, again, really cool commercials. And again, in the other category of less than 3% of sales worldwide.
Wow.
Because we'll talk about it when we get to their last remaining device. Nobody really is used, unless you're locked into an Apple system, you're not really using their stuff. So, what is it about this list, though, that you guys notice? Anybody see anything different or special about this list of people of all these wake words that we're using here? Yeah.
The Google Assistant doesn't really have a name.
No, it's how it's invoked is OK Google, but yeah, but it's all the implicit bias here, guys. They're all women. We're telling women what to do,
Betty and Bixby.
and they're all female voices by default, also. So, for your wake word for Amazon, you could use Alexa. You could also use Amazon or Echo or computer. Remember, we get that computer from Star Trek.
Yep.
The old original, walk around and tell the computer what to do and have things do it.
Yep. That's why mine's
Cortana is a female voice. They have a male voice that you can go dig around in and set up in your settings, but nobody does. Siri has actually got the widest variety of voices that comes pre-installed for you. You can swap it out. I've got one of my friends uses her as a male British butler. You still have to say Siri. You still have to call him a female name, but you can actually have a male British voice that you're interacting with and doing. Google has made a couple of things like that. Amazon made a little bit of a splash 2 months ago. They've got Samuel Jackson now doing some special voice stuff for them on there that you can download and use. Bixby is really only female. They have a male voice, but again, it's not even registering in the United States, so it's kind of not useless to talk to. There was that one guy that we had as a voice assistant back in 2001. He didn't work out so well for us all, did he? So, is this artificial intelligence? No, this is not.
AI.
No, this is not artificial intelligence. Alexa, are you artificial intelligence?
I like to imagine myself a bit like an aurora borealis, a surge of charged multicolored photons dancing through the atmosphere.
Alexa, tell me about deep learning.
Here's the Wikipedia article on deep learning. Deep learning is part of a broader family of machine learning methods based on artificial neural networks. Learning can be supervised, semi-supervised, or unsupervised. Would you like me to continue?
No, thank you. Always be nice. Say please.
Oh,
Say
yeah.
thank you.
And so will she.
So, you might have noticed there deep learning, and she talks about being supervised, unsupervised, etc. So this brings us to one of the things that you guys have probably seen in the news and heard about how they're collecting our recordings and they're listening to them and people are listening to them. Yes and no. Yes, they are listening. No, they're not really listening because the number that they listen to is such a small percentage. But everyone here has participated in deep learning, I'm going to bet. Because you've all done a CAPTCHA. You've all logged onto a website, tried to fill out something, and done a CAPTCHA where you had to either figure out what those numbers or letters were in the squiggly lines, or you had a thing where you had to pick which ones of these pictures contain the fire hydrant, or which ones of these contain that. That's because deep learning was looking at those photos and trying to figure out, do those photos contain a traffic light? It can't figure it out, so it farms it out to the humans to try and get an answer. So you guys participated in deep learning and helped the artificial intelligence portion of that. It's not artificial general intelligence is what you're thinking about when we say that word, by the way. That's a whole nother class for next year. We're in the middle of writing it in the spring. We're going to start teaching something like that. But the idea here is that you're helping the algorithms to learn how to recognize pictures when you're doing those things. And that's what this whole thing of this part here of learning how to recognize your voice and what happens. That's why they ship that off so that someone can listen to it and say, wait a minute, we got this wrong. What did the person really say? We're going to talk more about it during the privacy thing, don't worry. The key issue that I need to reinforce to everybody is all of these devices require internet. No one has put out a device yet that is voice activated, voice ready, can understand natural language algorithms, and doesn't need to be connected to the internet. You're going out to the cloud. Remember, the cloud is just somebody else's computer. You just hope they're backing up their computer too. And it gets that information and it brings it back to you. Just like you heard her say, she went off to Wikipedia, got that information and brought it back. So whether you trust Wikipedia or not, we'll get into that also in a little bit. However, the key point to all of this is you need to have that connection somehow. So it's going to be your phone or your Wi-Fi at home or something like that that you're connected to. As we start talking about some of these other devices out there, there's some really interesting stuff happening as long as you're connected to something. So, where do they all live? They really all live on your phone. because they all start on an app on your phone. Whether that is putting the Echo app, or the Siri app, or the OK Google, Google Assistant app on your phone. You're putting all of those on your phone. That's how they all work. That's why this is this new digital divide that we're actually starting to figure out, is because you need at least a basic smartphone to be able to do this. When we come back in December, we'll show you why you want a more advanced phone for doing augmented reality stuff. But for doing voice assistants, you just need a very basic phone that can run basic apps. As long as you can do that, as long as you can get to the internet, you're good and you can run this and make this happen. Yeah.
And are you saying phone particularly, or are you saying as a piece of technology? Because it could just as easily work on your tablet.
Yes, so the question is, could it work on anything other than a phone? And the answer is yes, to a limited degree. For most of it, and thank you for bringing that up, because I'm going to bring it to the thing of where they changed already this year. You need to either have a phone or a tablet that's already connected to the internet and already has access to these services, so that you can then link your new speakers or voice assistants to that. However, Amazon knows that this is an issue, and their latest video version does not need a phone to connect. It just automatically connects. And their new plugs don't need that. It automatic. Once you've already connected another device, Amazon now has individual plugs you can buy that will automatically connect. All you do is you plug it in, it finds the plug on your network, and it automatically adds it into your account and automatically sets it all up. You look like a wizard. I just did this for the Christmas tree. Bought a new plug, plugged it in, now the Christmas tree's on automatic. Yeah.
And what is this called again?
Which?
This new linkage.
The plug.
It's just an plug. It's just you have to buy an Alexa enabled plug from Amazon, and it works.
So it's a new app.
It's not a new app. Amazon built it into the devices. Into these devices. Here, let's take a look at all the stuff that's up here, and then we'll start talking about that. So, for example, what I'm talking about, like the new, the Show 5, it's called, because it's got a 5-inch screen. Not that it's version 5. Once you plug it into your house, if you've already had any kind of Echo-enabled, Alexa-enabled devices in your household on the network, it automatically just works.
Where do you put
Yeah.
the plug into? I mean,
Into the wall. You plug into the wall. Separate plug. Yep, it's just an extra plug. You just plug right into the wall. Plug whatever you want to, any lamp, lights, whatever. In my case, we're already decorating for Christmas, and so we plugged in the Christmas tree to it. Now I have Alexa, turn the Christmas tree on.
Okay.
You just have to take my word for it. The Christmas tree is on in my living room. Alexa, turn the Christmas tree off. I do not
We get a call from our.
I do not need my neighbors thinking I'm a crazy person with Christmas stuff already. But we're going to be gone for the first week of December, so we won't have a chance to put it up. So let's take a look at what's on here. These devices right here, these center ones right here, the black, gray, and white, those are your Echoes. Echo or Echo Plus, as they're called nowadays. Those are your basic ones that you're going to be using, kind of pineapple can sized. And so they have really good speakers. They have really good microphones. All of these devices use what's called far field technology. So you can take the device, I'm going to hold this one up and check Alexa, and you can see where the light on the top lights up when I'm talking. And also you can see that the light lights up in one area to show which of the microphones it's using to hear where I am.
Right. And there's what, 7?
So ask.
Ask what?
Anything. Just say. Just say the word.
Alexa, what's the temperature?
And then you'll see how you saw the light light
Right
up.
now, it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect a high of 81 degrees.
But so you can always see when your device is working because the light lights up. And you can see by where that brighter light is, which microphone actually picked you up on. Yeah.
So your Alexa device
Uh-huh.
is not recognizes anybody's voice.
It can recognize anyone's voice. Alexa, who am I?
Bob is speaking. You're in Robert's account.
Barry, ask her. Ask her who you
Who
are.
am I?
Who am I?
No,
You have to say
Larry, you
Alexa.
gotta say the magic word first.
Oh,
Alexa.
Alexa, who am I?
I'm not sure who's speaking, but you're in Robert's account. To teach me to recognize your voice, just say, Alexa, learn my voice.
Alexa, stop. And so you can set it up so that it knows who you are. So it knows my voice, it knows my wife's voice.
So it
But-
yes and a
But
phone.
anybody could walk up and ask to have it do things, to turn lights on, play radios, etc. That's why you use passwords. We're going to talk about that during security, so that you don't just order $50,000 drill presses like my friends try to do to me, or I get really expensive computers and bicycles and things in my shopping cart at the end of any party. And you can't. I'm smart enough to not allow people to just use these things. But so some of these things I want to point out, the Echo Shows, for example, these are the video ones that you can go do video back and forth. I've got my mother's house. I bought her one of the first Echo Shows so that she can just drop in on me. So you can call back and forth between different devices, and she can just say, drop in on Bob, and it will just ring every one of my Echoes on my phone and everything. So she doesn't even have to say anything at all, just have to wait for me to accept the call. So if anything happens to her in her condo, she can just grab me right away that way. It's a really nice feature that they've got for going back and forth like that. The other thing is, I want to point out pricing for you. So prices on a regular Echo like this is anywhere from $130 to $200, depending upon which ones you're buying. Video ones are a little bit more expensive. The Echo Dots, the hockey puck ones like we have here, $50. Again, this is Amazon. You never buy it at $50. It's $50 and it's on sale for $35, $25. We bought these for the library and we got a deal of 3 for $75. So we bought we have a tremendous amount of them in the library system now. We'll talk about that also later. One of the things I want to point out, though, I need to use my pointer, remember, are these two down here on the bottom. One is it's called the Echo Input. It's that little round, like a commemorative coin size
There you
thing
go.
right here. Yep, that one there. And because you probably already have a nice stereo system at home, you don't need to go spend money on new speakers and new things like that if you already have a surround sound or whatever you already have at home. So you buy that, plug it into your speaker system, and now your whole surround sound system becomes an Echo that you can listen to and use. That one costs about $50. Or you can buy this nice big one in the back there for $300, which is the top of the line super speaker, all the audio files all are in love with and drooling over because they're all getting these high scores and I'm like, I've already got nice surround sounds in my living room. I just need the microphone and I'm good to go. And then there's this small square rectangle one here. That's the Echo Auto. The Echo Auto is all about being able to use it in the car, as it implies. You just plug it into the power outlet in your car, what we used to call a cigarette lighter, and you can now use, just by speaking and walking around and doing all your stuff while you're driving, use your Echo, that way to go anything you want. So you can get directions, you can add stuff to your shopping list, turn the lights on at home, turn the AC down, whatever you want as you're driving along. It works really, really well on older cars because, especially if you've got the older cars without the screens in them and all those other things, this replaces it, all of that new technology, and you don't have to worry about it. It does not work well with the new cars unless you disable a couple of things. Like on mine, I've got a Chevy Bolt, and it's got the latest Echo Android Auto and some stuff on the screen. I had to disable that for the Echo Auto to work for me. But the Echo Auto works much better because it accesses my full phone book. I can do everything by voice anytime that I want, and you don't have to worry about taking your eyes off the road or looking at a screen or finding anything. She just remembers all this for you and can do it all. Plus, when you're playing your podcasts or playing whatever music that you're doing, it remembers from location to location. So I can be listening at the device in the house, get into the car, tell her to resume, it picks up right at that point. when I get to work, pick it up again when I get to my desk. Yes.
But I thought you said all these have to be connected to a network.
So the question is, don't these all have to be connected to the network? And the answer is yes. So when you worry about the Echo Auto, you're connected to your phone's data. So your phone's using data as you're driving along because it's connected to your phone as you're driving. You don't have to have any special things in your car
Unlimited data.
or anything. It just uses your phone to be able to do.
And do you have to,
Question.
does it have a plug? I was initially looking at it, it looked like they were talking about it had to plug into the USB port that some of the.
So the question is, does it have to plug into a USB port? No, it doesn't have to. It will do everything over your Bluetooth speakers in your car, if your car has Bluetooth.
Okay.
And if your car does not have Bluetooth, it has an audio jack out that you can plug right in.
Yeah.
Just like you in the old days when you were plug in an old cassette player or anything like that, you can do all of that with that device there too.
Okay.
So it's a really easy thing, yeah.
Do you have to have something, I have, let's say, an iPhone, an iPad, and a Chrome computer. Will any of those work with that?
So the question is, if you already have iPad, if you're already an Apple, or if you have a Chromebook or anything like that, would these work? And the answer is yes, because it's Amazon. If it's the other way around, no. If you're on a Chromebook, you can download and put Amazon, you can put Alexa on your Chromebook, but you can't, but Apple doesn't allow it on theirs. I think they actually might have changed it to allow the basic Echo app on the iPhones now. But they won't go the other way.
So do you-
Amazon wants to be out on everybody's devices. Amazon just wants to be everywhere that they possibly can. And some of the others are a more closed system that are trying to stop, that want you to stay only in their ecosystem. Yeah.
So what do you mean by the other way? Which way does it?
So, okay, so asking which way does it go? If I am on an Android phone, I can choose to download and use the Echo. I can use the OK Google. I can use Cortana. I can use Siri. But I can't go onto an iPhone and download OK Google onto there or download Bixby onto there to use it. Some of them are very open and will be in all of the various Play stores and app stores, and some of them will not. And you just kind of have to go and visit to see which one's available on your device.
But you're
Yeah.
saying that if you have Apple devices, you can use Amazon on them?
Yes, for the most part, I'd have to check into the App Store again. I think they do have the latest versions for that on their stores, which is why they do this. Now, there's a couple of devices that are not on here that I wanted to point out to you. One's called the Look, and it's about the size of a water bottle, and it's got just a slightly nicer camera built into it, and some extra LED lights, and it's meant to go into your bathroom or your closet, so you can take pictures of yourself with it. Now,
Wait a minute.
I know this weird idea.
Hopefully you
Now,
don't
here's-
have a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, well, that's actually what they want. Because you get dressed, you have it take a picture of you, and then you can compare it to see which looks better on me, this one or this one. And they actually have some fashion algorithms that will check and look and see which one of these looks better with which light. And it's plugged into the weather, so it will say, oh wait, that silk blouse is too light to wear today because it's going to be below 50 degrees or something like that for you. And because this is Amazon, they know they can say, oh, you have the green one, you have the red one, you have the blue one, the black one is on sale today. This is why I trust Amazon. I know exactly what they want. They want my money. Yeah.
Do they have it available so that you can try clothes on that they're selling yet?
No. So the question is, do they have something that will show you the clothes yet? That's in the augmented reality field, and they do not have that yet on any of the Echo devices.
Okay.
So they've got that there for that look. And I know we're all kind of chuckling over this, like, why would you want this camera in here? Why would you want one of these? I mean, these shows, the Show 5 is meant to go on your bedroom stand so that you can have that little alarm clock there, and it will get slowly brighter as you're supposed to be waking up, and it will be able to do all the stuff and show you videos and give you all your alerts and all your stuff right there, a nice little video screen. Or your mom could just drop in on your video camera in your bedroom. I'm not so certain I want that. So there's these devices that we are thinking of like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And Amazon understands that, so their look was invite only, because they didn't think many people would want it. But then they got flooded with so many requests, they had to make it out there for everyone to buy. For the Show 5, they knew people were not going to necessarily want the cameras, so they built it with a slider that blocks the camera so that it doesn't automatically have video showing every time you want. And one of the first complaints was the slider's too hard to move back over after I've covered it. I want the video showing all the time, everywhere. Totally different generations, everybody moving and doing their different ideas. Yeah.
So Amazon also makes the Fire tablet, which...
Yes. So Amazon has a whole set of tablets, and all those tablets have the Echo, the Amazon Voice Services built in. We're going to hit those extra devices in just a minute. I do want to point out one other device that I've been carrying around here like this. This is called the Echo Wand, and this is probably the most insidious device Amazon's ever made. It's got a barcode scanner, so I just scan the barcode on anything, and bam, it automatically shows up in my Amazon shopping cart. I can sit there and scan everything in my pantry, and it will just ship directly from Amazon for me, never having to leave the house. And it'll either ship from Whole Foods if it's fresh goods, or it'll ship from Amazon Pantry for all the other things. And it's free.
Oh.
So where do you get it?
You go to Amazon, you buy it for $25, and they give you $25 off your first order.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're not fools.
So they kind of have a good idea of what you want and what they want you to be able to do with these things. Now, I said this is not an advertisement for Amazon. We talk a lot about them, and we're going to show you exactly why in just 1 minute. Google does have some devices out there. Google has the Google Mini, and they have their Google Max. The Max is barely selling anything if out there. I've never seen it actually in the wild. Here's a comparison, the Dot, Echoes, etc. to show that there. I mentioned it earlier. These devices from Google, their sales dropped over 40% in 1 quarter, in the third quarter. It's not looking good for the holiday season for them right now. And their video ones aren't even registering anymore as sales. They have lots of cool commercials, but they're just not capturing people's imagination, and partially that is because they're not an open system where it used to be. Alphabet, which is Google's owning, company that owns Google, bought out Nest, which is we're going to talk about there in a minute as another device. They recently, over the summer, changed the rules on your Nest equipment that now you have to have a Google account to be able to use the Nest equipment. Didn't need to be that way. I can use that same thing on Amazon all I want, and Amazon doesn't require me to have an account. So Google is trying to make a play here very similar to Apple. Here's the Apple device. They do make a device that's out there, this HomePod. Here's their entry-level version, $450.
Oh my God.
This is the only Apple device I've ever seen go on sale. Because they market like 20% off sometimes because they can't get people to buy it. It works with Apple Music. It works with your Apple accounts only. They just announced you could use Pandora and Spotify on there. So it is something very much for people who are really into Apple and really want to be in that universe to be using for that. So now, all of these devices and all of their, as I call them, their cousins, these are all the Alexa-enabled devices or other enabled devices. Probably the most famous is Sonos. Sonos speakers, they make really good high-end speakers that are Bluetooth enabled, so you can use them anywhere, anytime. You could connect it to your computer, you could connect it to your phone, you could just have it run and work, and they do indoor, outdoor, they have some really nice speakers. They chose to actually add in and go with a voice enabled, so you can talk to it and have it change the channels and play different music and stuff like that. Sonos chose you can pick either one. You can pick Google or Amazon as your voice assistant to use on there. Once you pick one, that's the way it is until you go back to a factory setting and change it. But you could use either one that you want. Ford, on the other hand, chose to go with Amazon. So all new Ford models, the 2019 model years and on, all come Alexa enabled. You don't need that Echo Auto, it just automatically works. You press the microphone button in the car and it just starts and it works. Why all this stuff happened is Amazon back in 2015 when they released their first speaker and surprised everybody with it, really saw how they could take over this ecosystem, and by doing that they created what they called Amazon Voice Services on a chip. And you can just buy this chip in bulk and install it on anything you want. So some of the new devices that have come out have been semi-crazy. Glasses. You can now buy Alexa-enabled glasses where I just have to tap the glasses and now it will be able to do that. My headphones that I use at work are that way. I can be walking around and I can be listening to my music and I just have to tap the button and say, swap this music or do this music. Or add this to my shopping list, or add this to my to-do list, because as I'm pacing and walking and thinking, I just thought of 3 new projects I need to add to this thing, and I can just do that all automatically. And then you get the crazier things like clocks. It's like, why do I need an enabled clock on the wall that will do? Well, partially, it's not for us. It's more for accessibility. Because if now you can have a clock on the wall that anybody with a, Alexa, stop, I didn't mean that. If you have it on the wall where you can now have that clock that you can physically see, but you can also have an auditory reminder of any kind of settings and timers and things that you've done on there, that all works great, and it makes it accessible for everybody that way. You can set these up with timers and reminders. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but you can set some of these things up with automatic timers. So if you had that clock on your wall in the bathroom and it reminded you in the morning to take your pills, it's not a bad little thing for $25 now. If you already have, some of these things only work if you already have another device. The microwave is a good example of that. And I know all of you guys are like, why in the world do I need to talk to my microwave? It's just punch the buttons and there it goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, so everybody here has had a microwave that can do this. I know you do. I can take 1 pound of frozen chicken breast out of the freezer, put it into the microwave, and I will get out 1 pound of cooked chicken. How many button combinations do you have to do that? To lower the power down to 50%, defrost 1 pound of chicken, then go back to the different power and now go cook it, and then you gotta rotate it at this time, and you gotta, or you can just say, Alexa, cook 1 pound of frozen chicken, and she does it. Or scan the frozen bag of vegetables, and she automatically knows all the information about it, can set the microwave to cook it properly for you, and can remind you to buy those again because you've used them up. Yeah.
Special microwave.
It is a microwave that they sell, yeah. $230.
Oh,
And it's got an air fryer built in,
Yeah.
convection oven built in.
7
Who is
different
it?
ovens.
Is
It's
it
selling it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's coming out in like next week or the week after.
And they've got a new one. It's got 7 different ovens. It has
Yeah.
the dry oven, the
it's
microwave
got
oven,
everything
the
on it.
conventional
Yes.
oven, all in the
Bob,
same
I
thing,
was wondering,
$250.
If I ask Alexa to do 10 push-ups for me, will I get them?
So will Alexa actually do the push-ups for you to keep you healthy? No,
Bet you-
not yet. But you can have her remind you and ask you if you did them. And you can have her nag you that way to say, hey, did you do your push-ups this morning? We're getting there though. We're getting pretty close for doing a lot of that enabled stuff of being able to add. Yes?
my new stove is hooked up to my microphone. It's hooked up here.
Yeah.
And it'll tell me when the stove is ready to cook something. It'll tell me if something's done wrong. It'll tell me.
Yeah, so it's having a new, the smart ovens or smart stoves that now are app enabled and allow you to use those sorts of things. Thank you for that really nice little segue there, because that's what TiVo and Roku did. TiVo and Roku both said, we know people want to sit on the couch and they want to make it as easy as possible to watch TV. Because that's what these companies do. They try and get you to stay on the couch as long as possible. So what they've done is they've taken the remote control and added a button on there as a microphone that you can just press the button and say, go to the Miami Dolphins game, and it will jump there right there and record it for you. And we're doing better, guys. We really are doing better. It's a hard year, but we're doing better. Okay? But they've also understand that you may not even want to pick up that remote control to do that. So I can just say, Alexa, skip TiVo. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Oh, you should have said something to me. Since I'm not home with the TiVo on right now, there's nothing for her to skip, but I could be there in the kitchen working away. My hands are all messy, and I can tell her to skip the TiVo, and it will skip TiVo for me, and it'll skip those commercials. I can have her answer, tell me who's at the front door, or Alexa, call Mom.
Did you mean mom?
Yes, I did.
Sure. Please tell me your mom's name exactly as it appears in your address book.
Mom Mobile.
Did you mean Mom Mobile's mobile?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll remember that.
No, you
I only have one number for Mom Mobile. Calling from Robert.
And so you could set this up so you don't have to walk through these steps, but A, I'm a paranoid person and don't let her save things. And B, I do this in the public a lot, so I don't want it just Oh well, sorry, I called your phone instead. Oh well.
That's okay. I'm here.
How are you today?
What's up?
We're in the middle of class. How are you doing? Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, Mom.
Hi. Hello.
So we're up here showing off how we do all these connections.
Pardon?
We're just here showing off how we do all these connections and put everybody together.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, you got bubbles on the phone?
I've got what?
Your reception's not real good.
Oh, it's probably because it's the Wi-Fi here going to your network there. It's probably something out there.
Yeah.
I gotta pick up that wine from you
Okay,
later on this week, I hope.
You guys all have a good day.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Bye now.
Okay, bye.
Alexa, hang up. And there you go. So as you're driving along, you could do that. Or if I brought in a video version, I could connect right to a video echo, and we could talk back and forth and do that kind of stuff. So it works really well that way. That's just one of those apps. This is a good example of why Amazon has this huge lead over everybody. This is as of January. They had 50,000 apps available to use on your Echo devices, all sorts of different things you could do. And Google had 23,000. Yeah. Google had 3 years to try and catch up to them, and that's as good as they could do so far.
For what? Who uses, people like us don't use it, so we could go with the lesser one, the lesser price.
Okay.
53.
So the question is, who's actually using these 53,000 different apps? And you're right. Part of the issue becomes, what apps do you use in your regular day to do stuff with? And my last count, there were 10 different weather apps out there to get different weather from different places and different days. So you're going to pick one of those and you're going to use one of those. We're in the middle of writing an app for Broward County Library that you'd be able to use on your Echo at home. It will not be available until fall 2020 at the earliest, because the huge development team has lots of things to do with our day. And we need new programming from other ends too. So out of that 50,000, let's say there's probably 200 library apps out there, because every single individual library system has to have their own app. So that, yeah.
Is there some reason that Google's Assistant is so bad? I've tried it a couple of times and it has never yet gotten me what I wanted. It comes on my phone.
So the question is about quality of how, in this case, Google Assistant works and what it's actually participating in and doing. One of those issues is they all have their limitations of who they're listening to or not. One of the key issues also that comes very hard into this is what we pointed out at the beginning of the class. They're all female names because there's a bunch of white male programmers doing this. And that needs to be fixed. If they had more representation in the original learning, it would learn everybody's voices. It would learn how everybody talks. It would learn how the difference between male and female voices, white, black, Asian, etc., being able to do this kind of stuff. So part of it is it's that. Part of it is catching up to the leader of technology, which is Amazon. So IFT is the way you can try and get some of those apps that you want to connect, because there may be an app out there that you want to use that you can't connect automatically through Amazon or OK Google or whatever. IFT is a second app. If this, then that. And you can go there and you can create recipes, as they call them, to allow you to do anything that you want. In the spring, when we come back, we're going to talk a lot about IFT as part of our apps to help organize your day. But in a brief thing, how IFT works is it triggers anything. So on my phone, I have an IFT recipe that runs based on location. So as long as the location on my phone is turned on, and when I walk into a library, and I've programmed in the various county libraries in here, it automatically turns my phone to silent as soon as I walk into the library. You could have an app here that turns everybody's phones off if you wanted to. And people use that app and put it on their phone, and it just automatically works for you. I have mine set that automatically turns the Wi-Fi on when I get home and turns the Wi-Fi off when I leave the house, so I don't waste my batteries in the Wi-Fi. So all those things help to build all this whole network together, so all these devices that wouldn't normally be able to do voice, you would be able to. So your oven, you'd be able to connect and do through IFT to be able to do the voice stuff to make sure that that happens. And we already showed you how you could connect Echo to Echo and do those sorts of things, including something as simple as doing announcements from one Echo to another. Or if you're streaming music and you need the teenager to get off of the music and come to dinner, you can just have it interrupt and say, dinner's ready, and come down to do that automatically for you so you don't have to worry about that. And all of the regular smart devices. So Internet of Things is any device that's connected to the internet. It can be anything at all. Usually you're using Wi-Fi, sometimes Bluetooth, but for the most part, you're using some kind of Wi-Fi to connect to the rest of the world. And that is usually something like your phone, because your phone is part of the Internet of Things. If you have an Echo like this, that's part of the Internet of Things, or light bulbs, or thermostats, or smoke detectors, or all these possibilities out there now that are connected to the internet. And they all work on apps. They have app after app after app that you're using to do this stuff. So you can set up an app for your Nest. Nest is a really well-known brand of thermostats, and they make smoke detectors and security cameras and all sorts of stuff like that, all sorts of Internet of Things pieces. And you can pull out that app on your phone, unlock your phone, bring up the Nest app and change your thermostat down, or you could just say, Alexa, set the downstairs temperature to 76.
The AC is set to 76.
Take my word for it, the AC at my house is now set to 76.
Yep.
And it makes it really easy that way to do it by voice instead of digging out all those various different types of apps that you're dealing with. That's why this has become so popular. Yeah.
I have a Nest, and I was wondering if it's more invasive because I had to sign up with Google.
Thank you. So the question was, she has a Nest, and now she had to sign up with Google. that comes back to our earlier point, and we're going to talk right now also about network security. So, Nest was bought by Alphabet, which owns Google. Everything was fine for the first year and a half. Then Google, Alphabet, somebody between the two of them decided that everyone who's using your Nest needs to also have a Google account. If you didn't like that, now your Nest doesn't work. And that is the pain of modern world, where what do you do that uses which? IFT, actually, that app that we talked about, actually has a workaround so that you can continue to use your Nest devices without having your Google account.
You can't go back.
No, you can't go back. Once you did it, you can't go back. If you would have taken this class beforehand, you would. Sorry. And so that's the problem, is that once they've done those things. So like at my house, I never moved it onto the Google platform. I kept it as a Nest, and I can still interact with it with my Alexas and go and do all that stuff like that. You can still interact with it. You just have to give it your account with Amazon and link the two accounts together, and it will still work if you're doing voice assistants. Go into your Alexa app, and you can edit in there and say, I want to link these two accounts. And you can do that. And you can do that with any light bulbs. Philips Hue is a really famous one that goes out there and does that. They've got light bulbs that will be able to change color, and you can say, set a romantic mood, and all of your living room will come down to 50% and turn a little bit red. And then, and that's just not me, no. And I'm not spending $50 per light bulb and putting in 4 or 6 new light bulbs in my living room. I'm gonna buy the light switch for $75 and say, Alexa, set the family room to 75%.
Okay.
And now my family room, the lights are set to 75% in the family room. Simple and easy. Alexa, turn off the family room. Don't need the lights on when I'm not there. Question?
Yes, that Philip Hue has
Okay.
that Philip Hue has a bulb you can use on your outside porch light.
Yes.
It has a USB port, and you plug your security camera right into it.
Yes.
It plugs the power.
Yeah. So using the light bulbs like that. So the example he gave was using the Philips Hue light bulb, the outdoor version, and they have extra USB outlets built into the plugs to help power other devices like security cameras, etc. 2 problems with that. One, you're still stuck having to buy another light bulb at $50 or $75 whenever it wears out. In my example of using the light switch instead, if you've got multiple lights outside that you're going to have to replace. That's what I did. I replaced a good chunk of my light switches in the house with voice-enabled ones so that I just use whatever lights I want, anywhere I want. Number 2, on security, Philips Hue puts your lights on your base Wi-Fi network. Everyone here has a security code on your Wi-Fi network at home, right?
Right.
Everybody nod your head yes.
Yes.
You have a password.
Yeah.
If you're part of this group,
Yes.
you better have a password. So, part of that problem is Philips goes to your default Wi-Fi network. I actually I'm at 5 networks at home now. I have one for the basic home one. I have one for my wife's computer only, because twice she has fallen for that, call this 1-800 number, you have a virus, and just give us your passwords. And I'm like, one time was bad enough, twice, no. So she's got her own little private Wi-Fi network that only her stuff works on. And I've got all of my smart home devices on a separate network, so that if anybody gets in that were to do anything like that, that would be the problem. They don't get into anything else. They don't get to my computer. They don't get onto the phones. They don't get onto the guest network for family and friends. They're only stuck on that one thing just for their sake. Which brings us to security, and who knows what about you. You've got your Wi-Fi router at home. If you haven't lately, unplug your router, leave it unplugged for about a minute or so, and then plug it back in. that forces it to go do security checks and get its latest security updates.
Yep.
I have it on my calendar for every July 4th that I do this because I know I'm going to be off on July 4th. And I have, I think last count was 43 devices in the house that I have to check software updates on and firmware updates. And because I'm a paranoid person, you don't have to worry about all that. I just try to make sure that I do these things. Now, talking about this, let's first talk about who knows what about. So, Alexa, what's the best pizza?
Whether it's New York or Chicago style, meat lovers or veggie supreme, the best pizza is the kind you enjoy with your favorite people.
Aww. Alexa, where's the closest pizza?
Here are a few nearby Italian restaurants. 1. Pasquale's Pizza Company, 1.4 miles away on North Street Road 7. 2. All-Star Pizza and Italian Restaurant, 2.1 miles away on North State Road 7. And 3. Mama Maria's Pizza, 2.4 miles away on Lyons Road. You can ask me for things like, what's the phone number for the first one?
Alexa, stop. So she gives us a nice little thing. Now, if you were to go on Google right now, bring up your computer or your tablet, and you type that in, what's the first result that's going to come up?
Domino's.
I got Domino's. Any other answers?
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Eh.
Really?
It's the person who paid to be at the top.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you pass that over to him there? Thank you very much.
Do what?
Where's it going? He goes to the man in the red shirt there. He won today.
Okay.
So it goes to whoever paid to be first. Okay, when you're looking at a screen, you can see that. Did she tell us if anybody paid to be first?
Nope.
No.
So we are growing up, and here's the scary part for everybody here. All of you with grandchildren that went to kindergarten this year for the first time, if they lived in a well-off household, they never have lived in a time they couldn't just say, Alexa, turn off the lights. Alexa, tell me a story. There's already kids going to school who have grown up
The
from that.
Bandit.
Alexa,
Nice
stop.
road through the sun.
There are kids going to school today who have never lived in a world where they couldn't just ask questions out loud and get answers.
Yeah. Well,
And you thought people paid too much attention to their phones. And now you've got people walking around wanting instant answers and just talk out in midair and get answers from everybody. Alexa, what's 26 plus 39 times the square root of 2?
26 plus 39 times the square root of 2 is 81.1543.
Question.
Can you ask Alexa to tell you a story in French or German?
Yes and no. We're going to talk about that language part in just a minute, actually. But yes, there's those abilities there. So going back to this thing about questioning and how do we trust people, Amazon uses Bing on their search results, and they say no, they're not using any paid advertising. Google is using Google, duh. They claim that they're not using any paid advertising.
Yes, they are.
Apple is using Bing. Well, and this is the issue. Who do you trust? So I kind of know what Apple's game here is. Apple's game is they want you to buy more Apple services. So you're going to buy you're going to use Siri, you're going to use their speaker, you're going to use all these Apple services. That's how their goal is to get you to subscribe and make money off of you that way. We know how we know how Amazon makes money. You'll buy stuff.
Yeah.
And they get you to buy, and they've got tracking data to show that the average person spends X. If you have Amazon Prime, you spend this much more. If you have an Echo in your house, you spend this much more, and it just builds. And they know they've got you, and they know they can keep doing this. How does Google make any money? What's the primary way Google makes money right now? Advertising. So, okay, Google, open my garage door. Sure, but first, did you know you could save 15% or more on, yeah, no, I am not listening to commercials to turn a light switch on or off. So how does Google make money on this? Nobody knows. Everybody presumes it's harvesting all of our data and selling it to somebody else. Amazon and Apple are harvesting our data, true. They're not selling it to anyone else. They want it for themselves so they can target those ads even better for us. Wow. I've turned the light switch on 26 times this week. How does Google make any money off of that information? Nobody knows. That's a problem. If you don't know where it's going to be, then that's an issue. So privacy. Privacy is dead. There is no privacy anymore. Partially a joke, partially not. So the issue becomes there is no privacy because what we think of as privacy right now didn't even exist until the 1940s and 50s. And there is no expectation of privacy. There still is an expectation of privacy from the government. That is still protected in the Constitution so far. However, protection from other people listening in on you, from other people, which we kind of got into this idea that you were private and nobody had a right to listen to you at all. Most of that is going away nowadays. As an example, the state of Florida does not allow wiretapping without permission from the other person. So you can't record somebody's phone call without telling them you're recording it if you're not in a public space. This counts as a public space. We can have a microphone here listening to us and answering these questions and doing this kind of stuff. Now, if you personally don't like that idea of the microphone listening to you and answering these questions, then you're not someone who has a phone, are you? Because if you have a phone, it's got a microphone on it. And if you've given one app permission to use the microphone, that defaults to other apps being able to have permission to use the microphone unless you go into the app and disable the microphone on the individual apps. So that is why if you're using Google Maps, you can actually just hit a microphone on the map and ask for directions. And you didn't have to give Maps permission to use the microphone because you already gave your phone permission on something else. So, let's talk about the rest of privacy here and how this relates to the library. How are we doing on time? We're okay. We still got another 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So, you can control what happens. You can always verify and erase whatever you have said. So you can go into, we'll use Amazon as our continuing example here. I can go into my Amazon account. I can see every single thing I've ever said to my speakers. In Alexa, how do I poison someone?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Alexa, how do I commit suicide?
It might not always feel like it, but there are people who can help. Please know that you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their number is 1-800-273-8255.
And that's the right answer.
So the idea here is she's listening. You can ask her anything you want. If I wanted to, I can now go in and delete all those recordings. I can go in into my account and delete everything I've ever asked her. In fact, you can do it by voice and tell her, forget everything from today. And she will do that for you automatically. But she can't. And here's the issue. Yes, it's taken off of your account. It's deleted from your account. But she cannot forget that you asked the question, or else she would not have been able to answer your question in the first place. So yes, you can have her forget all the things, but what that effectively does is just anonymizes what those questions that you asked during the day today are, and it just stays in the database with no customer information associated with it. Now you may have heard, we talked earlier about CAPTCHA and hearing about people who are listening to your recordings and doing that kind of stuff. They're not. It's a very, very, very small number of things that people are listening to. However, they're verifying, like we said, to see what went wrong and what happened. Now, the other part that we're going to follow up here on is on security issues about who can listen to what, when, where. So I already mentioned a couple times, we installed Echo Dots at the libraries. Every public service desk now has an Echo Dot installed there, so you can walk up and ask any question that you want, including things like, Alexa, how do I say I need to see your library card, please, in Portuguese?
I need to see your library card, please. In Portuguese is.
Eu preciso ver o seu cartão da biblioteca, por favor.
So now we can help all of our customers in any language that they speak. Now, you can only ask in English. So your question about the story times in French. You could ask it to tell you a story in French if you have that app installed. And there are stories out there for all sorts of stuff. We've got a bunch of different, we got like 20 different apps installed for the library users. But it's coming soon, quote unquote, that you'll be able to speak to your devices in multiple languages. The United States is going to have both Spanish and English. It was supposed to happen in October. It hasn't happened yet on any of my devices. I'm not sure why. I think it hasn't rolled out because I'm probably in a lower end wave of the rollouts. Once that happens, and if it's available to us, we will make everybody have access to that at the libraries. But that's why we also have. Sure.
I just bought a Google, and
Yes.
I had somebody Spanish in there, and they couldn't. I couldn't. You mean I could go to my Google now and say, "How are you? Can you make dinner tonight?" And translate it to Spanish, or I
Yes.
have to have
Yes.
it moved
Nope.
up?
Nope. It works both. Both Google and Amazon have that ability
Without
to do
programming it?
without programming it.
Unbelievable.
So, but I've got something even better for you here in just a minute. One of the reasons we also have tablets, we have Android tablets with all the library desks, is because we have Google Translate installed on all those tablets for people to be able to do it live conversations. And if you are if you have a tablet or a computer and a phone, you can go to Google Translate and go to conversations, and I can speak in English, it will spit out in Spanish, she can speak in Spanish, and it will come back in English. You have to know the language and set it up ahead of time, but it will be able to do that for you. And that's what we're doing at all of the libraries. So the last thing I want to show you real quick here is we've got a quick 30-second video from the library to show you how this actually works live out on the desk. Hi, how can I help you?
Buenas tardes. Quisiera devolver este libro.
Alexa, how do I say, I'm sorry, I don't understand Spanish in Spanish?
I'm sorry, I don't understand Spanish, but I do have a skill you might like. It's called
Lo
Spanish.
siento.
Want to try it?
Español.
Alexa, please say, but I can still help you in Spanish.
But I can still help you in Spanish is, pero aún puedo ayudarte.
Alexa, how do you say, do you want to check this book out in Spanish?
Do you want to check this book out? In Spanish is,
¿Quieres ver este libro? Sí, por favor.
Alexa, how do I say, I need to see your library card, please, in Spanish?
I need to see your library card, please. In Spanish is,
Necesito ver su tarjeta de biblioteca, por favor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Alexa, how do you say thank you very much in Spanish?
thank you very much. In Spanish is,
Muchas gracias.
Okay, Bob, great
Thank
job.
you guys all very much, and we'll stick around for questions afterwards.